Hello and welcome to Have a Chat. It's a wonderful day here in Miramichi. We're live at Rogers Studio. I'm Judy Logier, your host for today's show, and we have a special co-host, Michelle Tobin-Forgrave, who is no stranger by now, but so happy to have you here, Michelle.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show. We have two fabulous guests. Before we introduce them, I want you to share a quote that will kind of segue into our theme and discussion today.
All right. So, this is Indigenous History Month, and this quote is extremely powerful. I am First Nations, no longer burdened with weakness from grief and pain of humiliation. I now stand with dignity and strength within my native spirit, for I am free. And that is written by Shirley Christmas. She's a Mi'kmaq elder from Member 2 First Nation in Cape Breton.
That's so powerful and strong. I absolutely love it. And as Michelle said, this is Indigenous History Month, and we are absolutely thrilled to have two first-time guests. It's been hard getting them here, but we have them here now. And they are Chief George Ginnish of Natoaganeg First Nation. Welcome.
Thank you, Judy.
And the lovely Andrea Paul-McCoy, community nurse, actually registered nurse in Natoaganeg First Nation as well.
Yes.
So thank you for being here with us today. I know how busy your schedules are.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Starting with you then, Andrea. For the viewers who don't know you, and I'm lucky enough to, tell us a few things about yourself, a few personal things.
Sure. So I am born and raised in Natoaganeg First Nation.
Yes.
My parents are Kenny and Mary Paul. I have an older brother, Michael Paul, who is actually married to Chief George's daughter, Bev, together long enough for that. And they have a beautiful son, Michael, my nephew.
Nice.
And I have a younger brother, Shane. He's my little baby brother, but he's 30 years old.
Yes.
And he also has two children, Parker and Layla.
Nice.
Yes, and I am married to Scott McCoy, who is a local paramedic. And we have one beautiful son, Connor.
Sure is.
He's 10 months old, and we have our fur baby, Louie, who's a standard poodle.
Yeah.
And he is adorable. He's 4 years old.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I went to school in Sunny Corner at North and South Esk Regional High School. Graduated student council president, played all the sports. I was very involved.
Yes.
Then I furthered my education at UNB. Primarily, I started out in Moncton at the Faculty of Nursing, and then I transferred to Bathurst. Graduated in 2012, started my career as an emerge nurse.
Yes, an amazing emergency nurse, I might add.
Yeah, I definitely, I would say that I devoted my life to my job, and I think that most people know me because of my job in the emergency room. And then 3 years ago, I had a wonderful opportunity brought up to me to transition to become, it was initially a mental health clinician with the Malagootinage Mental Wellness Team in Eelground, serving the North Shore communities, the First Nation communities. And then a home and community care job came up, so no more traveling. I could stay stationed right in Eelground, and I could serve my community as a nurse. So the last 3 years, I have worked very hard, advocating for our people and really paving the way for healthcare.
And now you're working towards?
And now I am at Dalhousie University, and I'm actually just in the tail end of finishing my Master's of Nursing to become a nurse practitioner.
I'm so proud of you, Andrea.
Oh my gosh.
Determined and bright and all of the above, like just a real achiever. It's just a beautiful career. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Chief George, tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, where you grew up.
Absolutely. Well, Chief, it started off as a recreation director, community development worker back in the 1980s. Just, no plans for politics, and so he ended up running for council in 1984. That kind of got my feet wet, and worked under Chief Roger Augustine actually for 12 years before he decided to pursue things on the national stage. So I've run for chief since 1996, and I've been chief ever since.
1996?
1996.
No
So
wonder I
that's
never see you. You're so
28
busy.
years, yeah. I always get volunteered for numerous committees, but like our strength is our team. So it's everyone working together, and we're absolutely fortunate to have Andrea.
And we're fortunate to have you both.
Committed, member. So my wife Mary has been she is our language language knowledge keeper. She has been in our school system since 1977. She retired for 1 year to watch the grandbaby till he was old enough to get into Head Start, and now she's back at it. For years it was a challenge to have any fiscal support for language. It was always, it seemed to be at the cost of something else. It was never funded directly. And it's only been the last couple of years that there's actually, dedicated funding long-term on the table. So we cannot let our language elders go. They are the keepers, and they are in their 60s and 70s. So we just got a 10-year grant, so they're going to be busy well into their 80s. So
oh my heavens!
So it's and I have 4 daughters. So
Four daughters.
I don't have a whole lot to say sometimes, but it's
Yeah, you would.
3 teachers and a social worker. So
That's
so that's
fantastic.
wonderful. They
Isn't
are.
that beautiful? Beautiful family lives and jobs and all things that are happening with you people, and you have grandchildren.
Absolutely, yes. 4 grandkids. Yeah, three boys and a granddaughter.
And you made time for us today. So,
Yeah,
what would you like
thank
to
you
ask
very
these
much.
fine folks?
So, Andrea, can you tell us what were some of the things that led to your success when you were younger?
Okay.
What are the things that influenced you to become this successful career person and, of course, a mom as well?
So I was very fortunate. Both of my parents, from a very young age, instilled in us that education is very important. You go to school, you get a good education, you get a good job, you come back, you work for your community, you build up. And I'm very fortunate, actually. Right now, my mom is also the manager of the community food center in Eelground.
It's a big thing.
Yeah, she's doing a lot of wonderful things. But having really good family support, I would say, and also, coaches, teachers, our community as a whole really shaped who I am today and really, I guess, really made me who I am, really. It inspired me to continue on to become a nurse, come back to my community, and then I'll be opening a family practice in our community, which is a really big thing, yeah. So,
Absolutely
but go right back to childhood, since really grade 2, I always knew I wanted to be in healthcare.
And there's always been that support for you.
Always, and
That's
I'm
great.
very fortunate. I will say that, not everyone has that, behind them, and I'm very, very fortunate to have a wonderful family and community. Our community is like a family. You need something, you go to your neighbor's house, or a lot of the elders in our community are really, happy for myself and everything that I bring to the community. But it's a two-way street. I learned so much from them, and I'm honored to be able to serve them and help in my own community.
It's goosebumps. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful, and it's tight knit, and we
Very
love that
tight-knit.
about those communities.
Yeah.
Some people don't know each other from a hole in the ground. They could live in the community their entire life, and it's like a wave now and then
Yeah.
on they go.
Yeah.
But that's a great relationship you guys have with one another.
No,
in the community.
I even bring the baby to go visit some of the elders. Yeah, so I worked almost right up to the end of my pregnancy. So I feel like everyone kind of seen my entire journey, and
Yes.
Unfortunately, I did struggle to have a child, and I had 3 miscarriages before this, and took almost 3 years. So it's been a journey, and I'm really lucky to be able to share it with my family, my community, and be able to return back to my community to work.
Makes me feel happy.
Yeah.
It does, those good feel stories. Chief George, now you are a powerful leader as well, and you're doing wonderful things each and every day, not just in our community, but in surrounding areas and beyond surrounding areas. So what are some of the things that inspired you along the way in your younger days, paved the way to where you are today?
Yeah, well, I had parents as well that education, no matter how hard I bucked it, and I was pushed to graduate high school, and from there I went to University St. Thomas for arts for a couple of years, and then I went back after working for years for BSW, but I had an opportunity to become the band manager of the community in 1988 while I was on council, and that was a huge step up, huge responsibility. So I've been kind of doing that, and you wouldn't be able to do everything you need to do without having a strong team. And to put it in perspective, when I started as band manager, there were 12 full-time employees in Natoaganeg. That was all programs. All the school staff were federal employees, so they weren't band employees. And today we have like 96 full-time, just the band itself. That's not to mention the tribal council or Jordan's principal or all the other associated. So there's probably close to 160 full-time people in in the community now.
Grown
So
immensely.
it's, yeah. So it's all about teamwork. Like, you know, Andrea has a great boss in Anne Marie in health. You know, I'm surrounded by really strong,
Good.
intelligent, powerful
Yes,
women, and I have a,
yes.
you know, and I've got a. It kind of balances out because our council is mostly male. Our directors are
Okay.
primarily female, but you know, you've got a group of 20 there that come together and work for the community constantly, and it's you know.
It's so
So
important to have that.
that's my power. That's
Yes.
it's them all working together, and same with outside the community. We've got our 7 Mi'kmaq chiefs, North Shore, and then we've got 9 chiefs that are part of MTI, which is our political body. So it's that group working together with our, you know, with our senior staff, our executive directors and whatnot, that really helps get things done. So there's a lot of work. You couldn't do it. No one could do it by themselves.
No, and what do they
Yeah.
say? You're as successful as the people you surround yourself with.
Absolutely. So,
Is that true?
yeah, so
That's
we're-
one of the best
We're
mantras
fortunate
or
that way.
thoughts I've always had.
And you know, I wouldn't be where I am today and being able to further my education to become a nurse practitioner if it wasn't for the support of Chief and Council, my health director Anne Marie, my co-worker who's also she's a community health nurse for Natoaganeg, is Wendy Chadwick.
Beautiful.
And right now I work alongside Dr. McQuaid on every Tuesday.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, but our teamwork, like Chief George is saying, is essential to success.
Exactly.
And without our teamwork, we wouldn't be anywhere where we are today. And
strong.
leadership, I always say it always starts with the leadership.
It does.
And we have an amazing chief and
Yes.
chief and council. So honestly, we're
know.
very, very lucky.
I
It's,
know.
very
it's a
lucky.
lot of things to be proud of, to have
Very.
that close-knit, supportive community.
Yep.
Yeah.
Give us some other reasons why you're so proud of Natoaganeg.
Well, I see the growth over the years. I'll be 35 this year, which is just a baby.
A
I like to
baby.
think. I like to
Don't
think.
start, Andrea, from a young age.
Yeah, but I feel like I've watched our community grow, and with all the additional programming, health programming, education, social, there's so many wonderful things that are going on in our community, and it's all because of teamwork, advocating, whether it's at the local level or provincial level or further on. But I'm so proud. I think I'm really proud today to be from Natoaganeg, but more so, I think I understand as an adult the importance of culture, the importance of community, family. When you're growing up, we're often, not blindsided, I guess, but we're so, I guess, busy with everything that's going on in front of us that we sometimes don't often take a second to think about everything that we have and what we're surrounded with. We're so fortunate. We have, beautiful access to the water. We have a beautiful powwow every year in July. We're just really, really fortunate to have such beautiful culture and community.
And just you talking, you can see
Yeah.
that pride come out.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really proud.
And I can see why. And if you have the same thoughts as Andrea about why you're so proud of your community, that's great. You can echo them. But personally for you, are there any other things you'd like to add about your personal pride in your community?
Well, we're resilient. I mean, we have to be. I mean, when I'm a little older than Andrea, so I know
Well.
the challenges that that my age group faced growing up. And especially in the '60s, where there was still a day school in the community, and the intent was to separate the child from the language, from the culture, and ultimately from the land and resources. I mean, that's a struggle we still have with government to this day. It's I know we'll get into TRC and that a little later, but there's definitely areas there that you get so busy in the day-to-day sometimes that you got to step back and focus on what the bigger picture is. So yeah, it's but we have a great group of people that are Ilgran has been a lead, and a lot of it was I don't take credit for all of it, and we have worked together for a good portion, but like our former chief Roger, he was
Amazing,
totally into healing, from addictions, and we still have the treatment center there that
Good,
opened in
good,
1988 as well.
Yes.
So it's that's changed over time, and it's addictions have changed, but the hurt is still there, like from residential school,
For sure.
from separation from family. So there's a lot of healing that still has to go on.
Of course.
And the TRC process itself opened up like a whole to reopen a lot of those wounds. It's still, we're still struggling, people are still struggling
Of
with
course.
how do we put that into perspective? How do we move forward? And there's still a lot of work.
But you're seeing some light. You're seeing a path to more
Yeah,
understanding.
yeah,
And
it's a big part of it is our folks understanding, what it is that happened to them, and,
Exactly.
and why am I having these feelings?
Yeah.
It's because you weren't treated, you weren't embraced, you weren't allowed to grow and
Nurtured.
in your culture, nurture, absolutely,
right.
absolutely.
That's a very good, topic that you're touching on.
Definitely. And I'll ask you this question right now, Andrea. We might not have time
We
to
might
finish
have like
it.
a couple of minutes, but
but-
we'll get back if we don't.
So, since this is Indigenous Awareness Month across Canada, and thank God that we do have, this month now, because
Yeah.
it wasn't always around. Can you talk to us about some of the misconceptions that people have?
Yeah, I think a lot of the misconceptions is that, that we have all this funding and we can, self-sufficient, but we also need partnerships. There's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to our culture and communities, and we are such an open community. Same with powwows.
Yeah.
Very open. We love when people come and join us.
Yes.
We love our allies. We love that you're there to support us. But Indigenous history and Indigenous awareness, even our Indigenous Day on June 21st,
Yep.
it's really important to take part in something, take part in a community event, educate yourself, spread awareness, be kind, it's really important. We've come, like Chief George said, we've gone through a lot, generation through generation with intergenerational trauma. And this is an opportunity for us to come together and, unite, educate, spread awareness, and acknowledge the history and the colonial ways, right? This is a way to move forward. And I think that's important.
Talking
is.
is so
It's
important,
so
like
important.
reaching out to people that do
Yeah.
not have the awareness that they should have. It's
Yeah.
2024. They're still blind to much of
Yes.
what's going on. And,
Yes.
and so, Andrea and Chief, we're going to be not too long before we continue the conversation. But for those folks watching, please take time to take a quick break and come right back for more Have a Chat with Michelle, and myself. See you very shortly. Welcome back for our next part of Have a Chat. I'm your host for today's show, Judy Loge. Always a pleasure to have you join us here. And we're in Miramichi, of course, our lovely studio with Rogers. And I have with me my co-host today, Michelle Tobin-Forgrave, filling in for Veronique, and she's been here before, doing a great job. We've been having a delightful and informative conversation with Chief George Ginnish of Natoaganeg First Nation and Andrea Paul, Community RN in the same First Nation community, Natoaganeg. So we are going to continue on with the conversation, and I want to direct the next question to Chief George. I just want you to enlighten us to some of the things that you want our listening audience to be aware of. Andrea pointed out some things that she felt people needed to be more involved in, and I'd like to hear from you on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, kind of our history is, it was, you come from a place where this history was suppressed. It wasn't openly shared. The intent of residential schools was not fully known until TRC. And then still, I understand people are busy. If things don't impact them directly, they kind of look for what do they do with their extra time. But we've made it our cause to educate, and we've got. You got the calls to action through TRC, 94 of them. Still a lot of work that has to do there. A number of them are only, fully implemented, and there's so many more that need to happen. But to have an entire month dedicated to Indigenous history, to have the day, and I have to share honestly that the city, the council of Miramichi, have been a really good partner. They've been working with us. Peace and Friendship Day, they've been doing that for 6 years. Even before they embraced TRC, and we have a joint gathering September 30th of each year. They're one of the first to come and support that and proclaim it a holiday when New Brunswick was dragging their heels on whether or not they would
And so they should.
Yeah, as they should. And it's, you know, you really have to push your treaty partners, and our treaty signatories are Canada and New Brunswick. And there's absolutely areas that we know, you know, through the TRC calls to action where there's work that has to be done. Justice is absolutely one of them. It's having, you know, the opportunity to have restorative justice in community that's culturally, you know, relevant, that speaks to, you know, what the needs are. And you need a funded force. We had pressure because it's the sad loss of 3 young people in New Brunswick, you know, at the hands of police, you know, over the past couple of years. 1 an accident, 2 at the hands of police that were later in inquiries determined to be homicides. We had demanded, New Brunswick, you know, you need an inquiry into the criminal justice system. The light needs to shine on this. You need the criminal justice system to be able to accommodate everyone's needs, everyone's culture. And that was really slow. You know, the province had initially agreed to, but they wouldn't agree to a full, you know, criminal justice inquiry. They agreed to a lesser of an inquiry, and just in discrimination in general, and even that was watered down. We had met with the commissioner halfway through, had a chance to look at her report, absolutely supported her recommendations. It went to government and cabinet, and it was whitewashed, quite frankly, you know. And when it was released, you know, nothing has been done since. So it's been over a year and a half. It's sitting on a cupboard somewhere. None of those recommendations have been implemented.
I'm kind of infuriated listening to this.
Yeah, and it's you know, it's frustrating because, you know, you want our people to say, yeah, look at the treaty partners are stepping up, and, you know, Canada has, you know, they've committed funding, but this illustrates the 94 calls to action. The ones in white are the ones that are, you know, enacted, or, you know, there's work being done. So there's that many, and this is 1993 from the Yellowhead Institute, which is a federal body. New Brunswick hasn't issued an update since 2023, 2021 since New Brunswick has issued an update on where they are.
So wrong.
We'd had to sit down, had an opportunity to develop a working group with the New Brunswick government at that time. There was a committee, representatives from, you know, everyone. Plug got pulled on that, and they said, no, sorry, thanks. We're going to work on our reconciliation calls to action ourselves internally. You know, so goodness. You know, how do you do that if you're not doing it in partnership?
Wow.
And you know, unfortunately, that's you know, that's still, you know, you know, I don't want to get into politics about that, but you've got to have willing treaty partners that are willing to see what their legal responsibility is.
Absolutely.
You know,
It has to be much more than lip service.
and as a leader, like I've there's been at least 5 or 6 different governments since I've been a chief, and we've had to start over, square one every single time. So that's, you know, that is frustrating, and that's, you know, that wears on a people, especially since the TRC recommendations.
And I don't know that the people would be aware of what you're telling us today.
No,
Like, I wasn't
totally.
fully aware of
Probably
where
not.
this is and how stagnation has taken place.
I mean, there's even things like, you know, that our nations couldn't vote till the 1960s. You know, the Indian Act is still a colonial law that really, you know, determines how, you know, how First Nations can develop. You know, even how you can, you know, own land or property. It's from the 1880s. You know, this is the 2000s. So it's, you know, I think the only reason we're reluctant to push change is that you don't want it to be worse than it is. So it's got to be done in partnership. So there's a lot of work that has to happen, and it's you know, you just sometimes, you know, you kind of question, you know, the right now, you know, we're looking at, you know, provincial election perhaps in the fall. We're looking at a federal election year down the road. So we're looking at starting all over again. And where do we start from?
And that is, I
Where do
can't
we
even
start
imagine
from?
the level of frustration that you would have.
And especially given that you've been in this position for so long, and you're such,
Absolutely.
you know, you're such a strong voice, and you're doing your homework. You're doing a great job as a leader. You sit around the table, you present all of the needs, and try to push things forward. And then you get, you know, it's like pulling teeth and pulling your hair out.
The only it's bad. It's sad that the only progress that we really make has to happen in court. You know, we have a couple court cases in abeyance in New Brunswick why we're trying to move the bar forward, but, you know, you try as you might, it's still, we're not anywhere near where we would need to be for you know, for those rights to be recognized for what they are.
Yes.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
with the elections, there will be some movement and some positive
it's,
change.
you know, you're always hopeful. I mean, we're ever hopeful, obviously.
I
You know,
am too.
it's you know, one thing I've got to mention too is our peace and friendship treaties, 300th anniversary of the first treaty, 1725, the first of the covenant chain of treaties. That anniversary is next year.
Oh, that's
300 years. So
huge.
that, you know,
Oh.
you want to talk about an event and, you know, a call for reconciliation.
Yes.
That in
is-
the entire, you know, covenant chain, they started in 725. They went right up to the 1750s. So you got 25 years of you know, we're gonna every treaty, you know, adjustment, amendment that happened, tribes signed on, that's going to be celebrated each and every year, probably from 2025 right up to
There.
2020, you know,
Good.
2050. So
Yeah.
we're not going away.
Not likely, and we hope you don't.
And you should just never have to fight for those
No,
rights that
no.
you should have always had.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But that was the government years ago. That's what the point was to extinct our
Yes.
people,
Absolutely,
right? So policies and amendments, everything is all based around that.
Yeah.
So, you know, like Chief is saying about the calls to action, we see it all in healthcare, social development. There's so many things. There's so many rules, even pertaining to patients. You live on, you know, reserve in community.
Yeah.
You're not, you know, you're not eligible to get disability, let's say.
What?
That's one of the biggest things that I see in as a community nurse when you're fighting and advocating for what's right for your patients and community and trying to work with the hospital system and the social system. You're trying to work with everyone to make sure that the patient has everything that they need. But that's one of the big misconceptions is that, oh, well, the band can cover all of that. No, they can't.
Good to get
And there
that
is
out there, Andrea.
there's no disability on a First Nation community.
No.
And that's a huge gap in the system too. There's so many things that have to be changed and recognized. And like I said, just in the last 3 years of working in our First Nation community, I've always seen it from the hospital side, but I see it tenfold working in community because patients that are not coming through the hospital system, that are coming directly to the health center, you know, you're advocating and you're fighting for what's right and what they, it's not even what they want, it's what they need. A special
Right.
needs child that needs, you know, certain, or actually not a child, because Jordan's principle does build that, bridge that big gap, but like let's say a child that ages out of Jordan's principle, let's say the child's 22 years old, but their special needs, they need, you know, certain medical equipment that's not covered or whatnot, that could be, you know, $12,000, $15,000, $20,000.
And you have to fight for just that one.
Fight.
So you can imagine. You can imagine if that's
Fought
just
right
one
to the
young
honor.
person in their
Yes.
20s that's in need of those,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, assistance, whatever it be, a chair, wheelchair, whatever.
Yeah.
That's just one.
That's
Yeah.
just one,
And-
but there's so many.
And it's also, that's only one aspect of your job right
Yes.
now. It's looking at that social aspect.
Yeah.
So tell us about some of the other aspects from your position as an RN. You know, the physical issues, the mental issues, the health issues.
Yeah, so up until now that I'm finishing my nurse practitioner, I've been the home and community care nurse. So I basically helped looked after multiple elders in the community, putting in home care services, making sure that they have safe equipment in their home, assessing their home for fall risk, similar to what occupational therapists do.
Right.
You know, making sure that, you know, there's no rugs, different places. Maybe they need a raised toilet seat, a commode, a shower bar, whatever it may be.
Ramps.
So a ramp,
Yes.
yeah, that's a big thing. So mobility and being able to keep our elders in their homes for as long as possible. And some are extremely, extremely fortunate, and I've been there right to the very end for some of our patients. Our palliative patients, we have a palliative care program. We work in partnership, like Chief George said. We have a lot of great partnerships, and with public health, with extramural, and some of our palliative patients were able to pass away in their own home, but not everyone is as fortunate to have that family support, the services. So it's really important, you know, to me, to advocate for what's right for our patients and our community members. Whether it's, you know, accessing the food bank, maybe being the voice at the hospital for the patient, because it's hard to understand medical lingo and understand, you know, what medications am I being discharged with, and what are they? So
So much.
yeah, we have a lot of great PSWs that work in our community.
Good.
They do the frontline work. work, they report back, or myself. Naomi is now the home and community care nurse, and Wendy is our partnership as a community health nurse. We will go to the client's house, we assess everything, we make sure we deliver everything, set everything up, we make sure that they have everything that they need. And yeah, so it's a really powerful to see the start to the end kind of thing.
And huge job though.
Yeah.
I mean, that you carry. Your load is like not the usual when you're up against all of that.
No. And the other thing too is, like Chief George was saying, talking about your past and your history and the intergenerational trauma. A lot of people that work in healthcare don't realize today, and I want this to be a huge take home.
Sure.
Is in 2024, we are dealing with the effects of residential day schools, 60-day scoop. We are dealing with the effects of that today. So the patients that are coming through the systems, maybe they just finished their, Indian day school applications. Maybe they just brought everything to a head. Maybe they're trying to find themselves throughout this entire journey. Yeah. And it's really, sometimes there's relapse, sometimes there's mental health services that are needed. We're so fortunate to have Shelley Francis, who is the executive director of the Natoaganeg mental wellness team. Oh. She is my idol nurse. I always tell her, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. She is so knowledgeable. She advocates for, when it comes to our patients that suffer from mental health and addictions in communities. She helps a lot of First Nations.
Oh, you're so fortunate.
Yeah.
We'll have to bring her on the show someday.
She's amazing, absolutely amazing. And I've learned so much from her over the years, and being able to, how to navigate the system to get to where you need to go for your patients. It's crucial. So she's incredible, and
shout out to her.
We do a lot of work together, our health team, our mental health team, addictions team, we all work together. We do case conferences.
Strong
Yeah.
Because it's looking at the whole every aspect of an individual.
Exactly. Yeah.
And when you have that intergenerational trauma, and it goes back 100 years.
Yeah.
Until that stops and gets repaired, and that person can deal with it.
Yeah.
It's just never going to stop.
No.
A lot of it's coping. I mean,
It's
that's
coping.
where addictions
Yes.
come from. It's
Yeah.
coping. It's
Coping.
coping mechanisms. It's trying to numb the hurt.
Yeah.
And put it in perspective, what Shelley and team are working with is, they have 7, 8, maybe full-time employees. They have a caseload of over 1,000.
Is this at the wellness center you're talking about?
No, the Natoaganeg is it's a multi-community wellness project.
Okay.
Shelley is the executive director, and she has a team of psychologists, some on contract, some are full-time.
Excellent.
And a support team of a few. The head office is in Natoaganeg, but it serves 5 communities.
Yeah.
And at last count, you have a client list of 1,000 people.
That's a lot.
8 workers. So that's
Wow.
So they
you're putting out fires.
Yeah, and
Yes.
they serve Miramichi, Natoaganeg, Natoaganeg, Pabno, Eel River Bar, all the way up to Eel River Bar. So it's amazing work that they're doing. Obviously, that's, like Chief George was saying, there's a huge caseload, and there's only so much that everyone can take on.
Exactly.
I mean, the dream would be to expand and get more funding, obviously, to expand the team to serve the population. But yeah, working together as a team is essential, and making sure that the patients don't feel victimized either. Making sure that it's not your fault.
No.
Yes.
And we're not here to judge you. We're here to help you,
Move
and we're here to move forward. Yeah. So it's an amazing team, amazing opportunity to all work together too. So
We sure are. I'm getting envious. I wish more communities had that kind of bonding that you do, and backing each other in every aspect. And just before we go to break, I just want to say how proud I am that moving forward, that with our hospice that we have built in our community, that you all will be part of that.
Yes.
And we had a smudging ceremony take place, which we were honored to have.
Yes.
And we have a room at Percy's Place, which for those who don't know is an 8-bed hospice overlooking the water in Miramichi. And we have so many beautiful things that the elders have brought in, and we'll talk more about that maybe at another point. But I know, like you said, they want to be in their own home. And in palliative care, at the end of life, they do their own special ritual, don't they?
Yes, we smudge.
Yes.
We bring in a lot of our traditional medicines. We do, a sacred fire.
Yes.
There's different. plan is individual from one patient to the next, but it's always offered because maybe not everyone, maybe someone's allergic to sage, maybe someone, you know, it just depends, but it's important. You know, a lot of times in our culture, or any culture really, and for that matter, when you become sick, you go back to your mother tongue. So a lot of our elders will go back to speaking fluent Mi'kmaq.
Wow.
So it's so important to have someone that can be able to communicate with them.
Yes.
Yes, that is so important. And we're going to have more conversation with these two fantastic individuals not long from now. So stay tuned for more Have a Chat, grab a drink or a snack, and come back and join Michelle and myself and the Chief and Andrea. Hello and welcome back for more Have a Chat. We're in our final segment. I wish we had a longer amount of time to spend with these two fantastic guests. Thank you for coming back. We are with Chief George Ginnish, and he has been the leader of Natoaganeg First Nation since 1996, the chief. And then we have the lovely Andrea Paul McCoy, and she, of course, has been talking about her job, and she's a community registered nurse and on her way to being a nurse practitioner. So we are going to continue on this conversation, which is enlightening so many of our viewers. Chief, I'm so impressed. As the leader of the entire Natoaganeg First Nation since 1996, that's huge. What are some of your major responsibilities and your challenges?
I guess as the chief, you're a chair. You like you say, you're the coach, to put that kind of perspective. And I draw on, you know, my upbringing, and I credit that for, you know, for being part of a team, for giving me leadership skills, and so it's yeah, I mean, it involves working together with people to get things done. Nobody gets things done by themselves, and we're fortunate to have really great team of directors that are engaged and active and wanting to things happen. You've got a council that is, you know, I guess council's biggest challenge is wanting to do things quicker than we can, you know, in terms of even like with peacekeeping, you know, that legislation, having those criminal justice pieces in place so that we can, you know, that we can provide the level of service that the community wants, and to have the support to do that. So it's yeah, I mean, when I think back and all the good people that have sat on council, you know, with me, I mean, it wouldn't have been possible, you know, to do all we've done without them. And then the partnerships with North Shore, the Tribal Council, Seven Bands, Technical Services. They're another group that they provide service right throughout the province. Housing, infrastructure development. We've got engineers, you know, of our own, and we're recruiting more. Like we've got a couple of young folks that are off to school towards that. Good. Big push now is clean energy. So Tribal Council is really involved with. And we've worked with a couple on a number of projects. Our MTI chiefs just recently signed into a 9-member wind energy project that we were able to get funded through a federal partnership. And
Great.
Hardest part of that is getting a purchase price agreement from NB Power to provide the service at, you know. And so anyway, we can reduce energy costs and provide clean energy. That's all about where we come from, and reduce especially the reliance on coal and oil. And but our reality is it's probably still 10, 15 years out before we can bring those other, you know, a lot of talk, a lot of North Shore is involved with small modular reactor, that technology as a way to utilize, you know, existing, you know, uranium that would take, you know, centuries and thousands of years to decompose, if that can be reused, and you know, so that energy, you know, so it's a lot of really interesting things that are going on, a lot of really good people that are around the table. And
but your day to day,
Oh,
I
day
mean,
to
I've
day?
been chasing this man down, playing phone tag. My husband's
Oh
saying,
my
"Is there
God.
something going on here? Like your job is trying to reach the chief." But no, I mean, you're no, seriously. I said,
Yeah.
"We're trying. Like,
I
call me
could-
back, call me back."
I
But
could
your
t-
day to day
yeah.
is huge. Like you're
Oh,
at one
God.
meeting and another meeting and traveling and back and forth,
Yeah.
and it's just insane.
Yeah,
What would your
I could-
typical day look like?
I could show you the schedule to like tomorrow I've got the Tribal Council starting at 10 o'clock, and then we've got this afternoon after this I've got a couple things I have to do in the office, and I got a call with MTI at 4 o'clock on another file, and so most of the days there's 2 or 3 things going on. I guess during COVID, it's, you know, it allowed this type of a setup in the office, so you, I guess the downside of that is you don't have to travel to Fredericton 4 hours for a 2-hour meeting, but you're expected to do 3 and 4 hour meetings a day, and then try to keep up with, you know, keep that in order.
And you're a husband, and you're
yes,
a
and
father
children.
and a
So
grandfather,
it's,
and
yeah, absolutely.
you have to have a little
I
bit
mean,
of life.
we enjoy, you know, I shut down, you know, 4:30, it's shut down. It's the grandkids come over, we have supper together. We have
wonderful. You balance it
one
out.
daughter that's always there with the wife and I, trying to keep us eating healthy.
Isn't
and,
that great?
So yeah, Heidi
Yeah.
and I are
So you
just,
carve that time out. You
Oh,
have
I mean,
to
it's,
stay
it's ours.
safe.
The weekends are ours.
And
like, you know,
Nice.
it's absolutely
yeah.
essential, because you cannot help your community if,
If
you're not well.
worn
That's
out.
You know,
right.
yeah, if you're burnt out.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
So,
Very
but it's a challenge. Like, I mean, there's so many things that the community wants to do, that it's you know, we're planning ahead. Like the month of June is full now. You know, I'm taking off first week of July, come heck or high water,
Good.
and you know, so. But then the week after, we've got, you know, national meetings, AFN. So it's just one thing, and there's a lot of files that are happening there that are important. That you know, there's a diversity there. You've got extremely huge provinces with different needs from Atlantic. That, you know, so I mean, a couple issues now we're struggling with is how do you roll out child and family that's receptive to the needs of, say, New Brunswick, where, you know, there's a big part of it is kind of the 60s scoop and the kids that were placed, and we did things a different way here. Like, the information is confidential, so those files are confidential, and you know, if nationally you're going to have a process that will only, you know, look at situations that were shared through Indian Affairs, all our kids are going to be missed. So that's a big fight right now.
That's huge.
It's getting that recognized. Cindy Blackstock is, you know, she's wonderful. Like, she took that challenge to the human rights years ago to have, you know, to have this recognized, and we continue in New Brunswick, you know, to support the work she does, and you know, our agencies, even like there's 6 of us that work together in an agency, Make My Child and Family. So there's, you know, it's we're taking the steps towards doing it ourselves, but there's growing pains, and we're learning as we go, and you know, it's you know, it's going the right direction, and ultimately it's going to be our, you know, our members that are providing the service, really understanding what the challenges are, what the needs are, what the history is,
And you're very driven, and you're very focused, and you know what the needs are.
Yeah.
So, like, again, as to Andrea's point, it takes leadership and willpower and perseverance to go to where you want to go.
Absolutely.
It might take a long time.
to keep
You're
going back,
beating
to
your
keep
head
going
against
back,
the wall,
you know?
but you're not stopping.
To keep going back
That's
time
right.
and time
Yeah.
again, and not
That's
letting
right.
it go.
Yeah.
You have to keep pushing forward.
I know.
Yeah.
To
You do.
be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to have Chief Ginnish as this leader in your community and a mentor, and you've had mentors growing up.
Yes.
So do you believe, and I know you would believe, what are you doing to give back and mentor
Yeah.
the youth in your community?
So I think first and foremost, setting an example for the upcoming youth. The youth are our future.
Right.
So it's important to shape and influence them at a young age, and influence them in a positive way. To, you know, to look outside of, you know, they're, you know, at a young age, it's difficult. Sometimes you're blinded by, you know, friends and you know, fashion, all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
right?
There's
all-
just the growing
yeah,
up
the growing
thing.
up thing. But you don't really truly understand or appreciate it, you know, mentorship and whatnot until you're, I would say, in your late 20s, early 30s, in my, I guess, in my view. But I do take on, there's a few youth in the community that have expressed that they want to go into healthcare. They're not sure if they want to be a doctor, a nurse, a ward clerk, an LPN, but they want to work in healthcare. So I do take a few of them on under me. I've shown them the health center. I've even brought some to the emergency department, just in the waiting room area. Just telling them, like, you know, this is triage and whatnot. You have to be careful, obviously, because there's patients in behind and whatnot.
Right.
But just explaining that no matter what you set your mind to, you can do it. And there's nothing that's going to stop you.
What an attitude. I
Yeah,
love it.
it's true.
Yeah,
But
that
it's
is
true.
true.
You know, like, now that I'm almost done my nurse practitioner and have a family, I understand the importance of family and being home, like Chief George said, like shutting off and spending that time with your family.
Good.
It took me until I had my son to realize that.
Yes.
So I don't want others to, you know, burn out and miss out on that stuff. So it's really important. Family is everything, and mentorship is huge. I've had, people like my mom to look up to, who is also an LPN.
Oh,
Yeah, she took her LPN when I went back to school.
Wow.
So we're both nurses. So there's a lot of things that we bounce ideas off of each other. It was really special that we went through our schooling at the same time together.
So cool.
So yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but I would love to see more Indigenous youth go through the healthcare system. I'm one nurse, and I'll be the second Indigenous nurse practitioner in the province of New Brunswick.
I'm so proud of you, Andrea.
Congratulations.
She gets
Yeah.
a fantastic
Wow.
reputation when she's a casual nurse at the ER
my
at Miramichi
goodness.
Hospital, like voted like Nurse of the Year, an outstanding nurse, and like you
Yeah.
just give it your all.
But I love what I do, and that's what makes the difference.
know.
No matter what you want to be when you grow up,
Yeah.
whether it's engineering or being the next chief or whatever it may be, whatever you want to do, you set your mind to it, you work hard, and you do it. And if there's people along the way that you think maybe they can help you out along the way, contact them, access them. Like people like myself are an open book, and I love helping people. I genuinely feel like that is my purpose in this world.
Passionate.
I'm so passionate.
You really and truly are.
I really am.
And having that attitude right there,
I know.
and having young girls,
Yes.
Role model.
and
boys,
boys,
yeah,
look
yeah.
up to you,
Yes,
to look up to
yes.
you as
Yeah.
these successful,
Yeah.
strong people in your community.
Yeah, and the other thing is you are gonna fail along the way.
Of course.
Everybody
Failure
does.
is part of growing
Yep.
and learning how you're going to react to the situation. How are you going to change things so that next time you can improve and move forward, or whatever it may be. And maybe it's a different path, but if I didn't fail along the way, I wouldn't be where I am
Everyone
today.
has hard knocks.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, Chief, for
Yeah,
you,
totally.
being a leader for all of these years, I know you're talking about all of these things that you have on the table around your council meetings and in your community, but you also must have people call on you, like young men, young women, looking up to you, looking for assistance in whatever manner, and of course they're looking at you and your success and your power and drive to make things better for your community. So can you just share a story or two of how maybe you have influenced some young people that have come to you, what you feel good about having done that?
Absolutely. Well, a lot will come to me. They'll be looking for references for school and those sorts of things. And we had a couple recently that we have a young lady that's she's going kind of against the grain. She had an opportunity to play basketball on a scholarship in Mount A, and she said, "No, I'm going to go to McMaster for engineering."
Well, there.
So so that's she asked that I provide a letter, and because I've seen her grow up as a youngster and through our school, and her dad works with us, so it's I love to see those types of successes. Love to see kids that that are wanting to do things on their own. We've got youngsters now that 20 years ago it was really difficult for for a youngster. Even if you're working, to go into a bank, get a mortgage for a home. We've had a half a dozen of them the last couple of years saying, "Listen, we know there's housing that's available in the community. A lot of it is for larger families that are kind of income adjusted and whatnot. But these kids say, listen, I don't want to wait 10, 15 years. I want a house. I'm willing to pay for it. I've got a job. I'm going to work hard to keep it, and I'm going to appreciate it." So there's a whole lot of
You encourage them and
yes,
you show them
absolutely.
the ropes,
we
basically.
we support them absolutely.
It's just so important.
And to have my wife in the school system and a daughter that's a principal. I'm just I'm accessible. I'm always there,
So
and
good.
So I make a point to go through it. The kids know me. The way, hi chief. So
Yes,
it's
You
it's
are
fun.
being an influence. You might even know the effect you're having on these young people, but you are every day. Just by being who you are and being such an intellectual person and knowledgeable and wanting to have more knowledge all the time. Like education, as you said, is so key to success, right? And you've demonstrated your success. So then by you seeing, them seeing you where you're at today and what you're going towards is so motivating. We don't have much time left. We only have about 4 or 5 minutes left, at least 4.
So, one of the other exciting things, obviously, this month is June 21st.
Yes.
So, National Indigenous Peoples Day. So, what does that day mean to you, Andrea?
To me, it's a day to not only reflect on the past and where we are today. My biggest thing is I like to take away something positive out of everything. So I really like to see the growth and how far we've come. You know, our culture, like Chief George was saying with his wife, you know, she's one of the lead educators for our mother tongue. I'm trying to learn. I have some books and I have some things, but just learning and taking the time to appreciate where we are now and recognize that there is a history.
Yep.
And it's very significant, and it can't be brushed under the rug.
No.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
No.
right. And Chief, in the last couple of minutes, what does this day mean for you? It's big.
Yeah, there's a number of days throughout the year, but Indigenous people, that's the celebration day.
June
That's
21st.
That's celebrating who we are.
Yeah.
That's celebrating our language. That's celebrating our traditions. And I know there's a number of events going on. One is going to happen at Gitpu Lodge, which is Rogers' spot in Natoaganeg. That's open to the community, and things for kids, things for adults, things for everyone. And of course, that leads into 3 weeks later our powwow. So
I know, and that's such a
you know.
big planning thing and
So
event.
you got to thank, this last couple minutes is to thank the volunteers. Is
Okay.
thank our elders that that have they've kept the community strong, and I thank my parents. It's you don't think of it. When you're a youngster, you think, oh geez, they're leaning on me, they're giving me a hard time, but no, they're not. They're trying to keep you from straying too far.
Building you up.
Yeah, exactly. So Dad wanted me to join the Army or the RCMP. I said, well, I think he was okay when I was elected chief.
So
yes,
so
I'm
I think the
sure.
level of
He's proud.
responsibility
Yeah,
was
he's
still
proud.
up there. Even
Yeah.
so.
So where will we be, Andrea, on that
Wow.
day? June 21st, will you be working or able to take part in the celebration?
First, I am going to be taking part in the celebrations. And
Okay,
I
and you will be
likely-
where at that
so,
with
that's a lot of it's going to be
The
day
Gitpus.
long. So there's going to
Yeah.
be things for the kids.
all
things
day
for-
long
Yep.
in your community?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I
Right.
just can't say enough about you two people. And like I said, it's been a struggle to get them on because their agendas are huge and packed solid. But I just wanted to wish you all the success as a practitioner coming up.
Thank
You're going to have your own practice. You're working very hard at that.
Yes.
And as a mom, continued success
Yes.
with Connor.
Thank you.
And Chief, I just want to really say, along with you, to our viewers, that you're doing an amazing job, but we need the support of them to push as well.
Absolutely.
We need them to be educated, aware, take part in your events, in your community, and support you all.
And they are welcome.
Yeah.
And they're
absolutely.
always welcome, and that's a key point. And I want to thank my co-host today, Michelle, because Michelle had a story. She was our guest speaker the other night at the Josie Foundation. And for those who could not make it, I just do want to say that Michelle is an incredible human being that told a story as a guest speaker that blew people out of the park. So we are going to say goodbye to all of you. Thank you for
you.
joining us. Thank you to your viewers. We'll see you next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.